Good morning, Nike. Thanks for joining us. We're going to have I think, a very good discussion around issues that concern us both and excite us both. Um, 14 years for you in Nuts About Cakes. Is that how long you've been running it?
Yes, so I started baking 14 years ago. So that's when I sort of got into the baking business. Yes.
Okay. And what made you get into the baking business, if you like? Is it something that you grew up with? Was there an opportunity or?
It was just an opportunity. I mean, I didn't actually consider setting up a business. Um, I was working as a management consultant. And, one day I found a recipe online and I just, ran with it. It was a cookie recipe and I started baking. And I just did it for leisure, for passion. I gave it out to friends and family. And that's pretty much how we started. And then one day somebody offered to pay for them. And that was my first sale.
Okay, so I looked at your background, quite interesting. I mean, I looked at your education, I looked at everything else, your social work and all of that. Quite impressive. So, how do you, being so involved in many things, how do you get time to kind of grow a business like this? Grow a business like this from a sense that you don't necessarily have the strategic background. You had a passion and you pursued it, and now you're employing 100 people or over four branches. Am I right?
Well, right now we have eight branches,
Yeah.
and we've hired over 130 people. We currently have, and sorry, I didn't get the full question. I think the
Yes,
internet is
my question is
bouncing up and
firstly,
down.
sure. So my first question is, how difficult, if I have to make it simple, how difficult is it to build a business from a passion perspective as opposed to a strategic knowledge perspective? And secondly, you're so involved in many other things. You speak about, your profile indicates that you're busy with great social work, upliftment work for women and so on. How do you kind of make time for that?
I mean, to be honest, it's not easy growing a business. I didn't have this experience from early on. I actually had to go back to school, and I went to business school to learn how to sort of move the business forward and manage the business. I started off in operations, so I used to do all the baking and the decorating myself. But now I pretty much just manage the business and make sure the lights are on and the bills are paid and
Yeah.
the staff are happy, things like that.
Okay.
So it's been good over the years. It's easier now because I tend to focus more on managing my time. I
Sure.
started off with passion, yes, but now I have to find purpose and fulfillment.
Wow.
Hence my mentorship programs that I run, formally and informally, just helping other young women grow, manage their own sort of businesses with family life and just my own story, things that I have personally been through. It's easier to share with other people.
Sure. What percentage of your business? I mean, right now in South Africa, one of the main things is convenience. So a lot of people want to receive whatever product or service they want right at their doorsteps. And especially with this prevailing pandemic, nobody wants to step outside their house, wearing this mask and all of this. What component of your business is driven by online sales? And is that something that will continue to grow?
So it's actually changed, of course, with the pandemic. What we do at Nuts About Cakes is we run, a multi-channel sales system. So we have our bricks, which are our stores, physical stores, and our clicks channels. Now, our clicks channels involve a variety of things. That's one, our e-commerce website, of course. Two, our telesales sales channel. So where people just call in over the phone and then they make a transfer payment and then we deliver. Three, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is actually becoming such a big thing. I never thought people would want to order cakes via WhatsApp. Four, social media. Social media is also quite huge. We're very present on Instagram and on Facebook. And then also, I think there was one more. But I mean, basically, that's what we try and run, a combination of both.
Yeah.
Before COVID, pre-COVID, we did mainly about 25 to 30% sort of deliveries. So things that went via our clicks channels. But then in the height of lockdown, it grew to as much as 85%. So we were mainly doing, orders through our clicks channels and then delivery, and of course less walk-ins. But now it's sort of balancing out a little bit more at sort of 45, 60, 40 going to our clicks channel, so digital.
Sure. Yeah. So I suppose, I've been reading up on your economy, and the infrastructure and all of that, obviously. And how easy is it for you to kind of link up with a logistic partner, or do you do the logistics yourself?
So that's tricky. Right now, we have a combination of both. We started off purely doing our logistics ourselves because, I mean, handling cakes is not something everybody can do. You need to know how to hold it, you need to know how to place it in the vehicle, etc., and deliver. But what we found post-COVID, especially during the lockdown, was we had to partner with external delivery drivers. And it did two things. One, it ensured that we could actually reach everybody through, through this delivery method. And then two, it created more entrepreneurs. Because what we had was, individual, independent drivers in a car who, otherwise would have been sitting at home. But because we were an essential business, or we are an essential business because we do food, we were allowed to open all throughout the lockdown. And so we created these sort of entrepreneurs who became, sort of delivery partners for us, especially since we rose to 80%, 85% deliveries at that time.
Okay, good stuff. So I've been reading that your economy is still very much made up of oil, tourism, and agriculture. Do you reckon there's an opportunity for you to kind of grow your services industry as a Nigerian economy? And are you walking in the right direction in terms of building that?
Yes, I think there's huge opportunities. I mean, yes, they say Nigeria is, the largest economy and all of that, but it's still very, I guess it's still very underdeveloped. You mentioned tourism. So tourism, not huge for us right now, but it's getting there. Over the past, at least since I've started my business, over the past decade, you've seen the change in terms of the number of outlets and stores and food businesses and tourism and hospitality businesses that have sprung up. I'll give you a perfect example. Where our headquarters is, we used to be the only bakery on that road. And currently there's 7 bakeries on that road. So that just shows, the excitement that people have, one, about starting businesses and more entrepreneurs and SMEs being developed in the country, as well as, the attention people are also given to the food industry, and also, young people setting up businesses of their own. So definitely it's promising, it's exciting. And with a lot more people sort of moving back, so there's a move back club, people moving back from the UK and the US or wherever they studied. Like I studied in the UK and I moved back home to Nigeria some sort of 16 odd years ago.
Wow. So, that's a very interesting point, because from my perspective, I would have thought, seeing the number of Nigerians living here in South Africa, that, and wherever I travel, I come across a lot of Nigerians, well-traveled folks from Nigeria, you're all over the world. This is very interesting to me that you're saying a lot of Nigerians move back to Nigeria after educating themselves in the West. Was that the trend before? And if there's a change, why is there a change right now?
So that was probably more prevalent before, when people saw a lot of opportunity. And, I was one of them, and I saw this opportunity. For example, I actually don't think I'd be able to do what I am doing now with the impacts that I'm creating in our country, and hiring, so many people. I don't think I'd have that opportunity or courage to do that anywhere else in the world. So I think definitely people did see this sort of opportunity that existed. Now it's a little bit more tricky. Things are a little bit more, I guess, tough. Foreign exchange is creating a lot of a lot of issues for many people, and we have countries who are opening their borders up. For example, Canada, who's opening the borders up a lot to a lot of immigrants. So you have Nigerians going out there, and also the UK now, who's opening up for sort of nurses or skilled workers. So people are finding opportunity elsewhere. But I do still believe Nigeria has a huge potential. We have the numbers, and it's just about digging deep and developing our economy.
Sure.
But also developing the African economy as well, and with a lot more sort of intra-Africa trade, and trade in that regards. I think that would really help boost the economy.
Sure. So very interestingly, when I look at the Nigerian economy, I see many things. One of the things I see your growth, your projected growth, and all of that. But underpinning it all is your cultural issues, and especially as they relate to access for females. So how does that access kind of look like from a business perspective for women? Do they have access to funding? What are the domestic issues from a cultural perspective that can or should be overcome for them to kind of independently and freely trade? And if there are huge hurdles, how do you overcome them? As a leader from a female perspective, potentially from a broader perspective. I'm just making reference to the fact that women seem to have cultural and access to business challenges. What are those, and how do you overcome them?
Yes, I think you're definitely right there. Our culture is still very sort of, the female has to be subservient and in the home, etc. But nowadays there's a lot more women going out. A lot more women you see on boards, even heading boards of banks in Nigeria as well. And for me personally, there has to be an understanding in the home. I have a very supportive partner who I actually made him the chairman of my business because, I have to use a little bit of female wisdom there to bring him on board into my business and help to grow it as well. And I think also, that's one of the reasons I focus a lot on female mentorship, because these are issues and challenges that women face when you're sort of raising kids and, having to keep your home as well as run your business. So just the dynamics around there and how to maneuver. In terms of financing, there's a lot more finance being thrown at women or female-run businesses. So that's great opportunities internationally and locally. I think banks say they prefer to lend to women because they're more sort of trustworthy and they pay back. But on the flip side, women have to have the courage. We have to have the courage, and we have to be bold, and we have to step out of our comfort zone and say, look, I want this, I desire this, and I can go for this. And then I can make that application. So what I've heard from some of my female friends, who run, investment funds, is that, they don't have a lot of women even applying. So that's another challenge. So we also have to be comfortable enough to go out and reach for these things if we so desire.
Sure. So I'm going to take a step back and just talk about 200 million people, give or take, around it. That's kind of your market. That's your population. I don't know what percentage of that would be economically active and what percentage of that would be potential partners. But what kind of approach would you have from a nuts about cakes perspective to kind of penetrate that potential fast? Or do you organically grow into it, which could take forever, seeing the size? What kind of ideas do you have? If you compare your economy, for example, to an economy of a similar size, if I look at the US, a brand-driven business penetrates, earmark market much faster. So people are hanging on to brands and all of that. Is there a difference for you? Do you have to kind of approach it from an investment perspective? Do you have to go through a networking process? How does it work?
So, I mean, we realize this, and I realize this, and with Nuts About Cakes, so our sweet spot is sort of affordable quality. That's what we sell.
Sure.
But not everybody can afford affordable quality. So we've actually set up another business called Mrs. Majex. Now, Mrs. Majex tailors to the lower income earning market and focuses more on snacks on the go, because this is the way a lot more businesses or a lot more people are choosing to eat. In movement, people are commuting daily. You have people leaving their homes as early as 4 a.m. to be able to get to the office. So by the time you get to the office, okay, what's for breakfast? What's the alternative? Street food, which is, can be extremely unhygienic. There's no running water. It's by the side of the road, etc. So we are actually providing convenient, affordable, and hygienic snacks that people can have for breakfast, for lunch, in their commute. So pastries and sandwiches and salads. We've partnered with some other organizations to be able to run this at a very, very small price point of 100 naira to 500 naira. So that's roughly under $1, and you can have something to eat. So we realized this, and we've opened up our little baby brand, and set up this business to cater for that other market.
Sure. All right. Now, quite impressive. I mean, seeing that you're in the food industry, and I look at the average income per family in Nigeria, I suppose being in the food industry, you have an opportunity to feed as many poor people as you can. Is that something that you're doing? Is it something that you intend to do?
It's definitely something that we intend to do. We intend to really fully go into the food industry. One, with our confectionery business, the cakes and the pastries and the bread. Three, we have other things in food technology that we're also trying to push and come up with. So it's really exciting, because it's just about sitting down with the team, coming up with these awesome ideas, and then of course the devil is in the execution.
Yes. So my next point speaks about a point that you brought up earlier, is the from an African perspective, the difference that you as an individual would like to make, and obviously your business and your intentions from a business perspective. So firstly, we're struggling to get the African economy more integrated. A lot of South African business, if you like, they trade elsewhere in Africa from a corporate perspective. How do we get more SMEs to trade cross-border? Do you have ideas around that?
Now that honestly would be difficult. I think a lot of SMEs have serious finance issues. So if you're going, cross-border, it's highly capital intensive, whether it's moving goods or increased, numbers of your products to ship across, and also with the, I guess, infrastructure as well. I hear it's easier to, fly into Europe before flying into other parts of Africa. So that things like that really do affect, and then the roads. So it's always going to be challenging when you're talking about the real sector, or SMEs, and being able to transact with each other. I think it will come more from a tech perspective, as opposed to real sort of goods. And there's still so much more, I guess, business that can be done within countries. A country as large as Nigeria, most people just sort of talk about the economic city of Lagos or political city of Abuja, and one or two others, Port Harcourt, maybe Kano, Ibadan. But there's still so many, there's still sort of 30 other states that people don't interact with because of the issues with transportation and the road infrastructure, etc. So yes, it would be great if we had those funds to be able to trade. But I think, really more from a tech perspective, or financial services perspective and things like that, as opposed to right now moving goods across, because except it's with the neighboring country, which is again, easier than when you're trying to go to another region in Africa, north to south, for instance, might be quite challenging.
Okay, I've got you. So, but very interesting is that you make reference to the fact that capital is required, and then compared to that, we've got all these systems running and this ability to trade cross-border because of something like the internet, for example. So, if one of the things that drives that, I would imagine, would be trust, image, if you like. If that's available, then the African Union certainly is now thinking of opening up a single passport for the region, for Africa, which is, we'll see. It's apparently being rolled out this year, 2021, and we'll see how that brings us together. But I think there are issues in relation to the image of each country, the citizens of that country, that kind of divide us. And I'm speaking from sitting here in South Africa, for example. Here in South Africa, from a corporate perspective, we know a number of our corporates are there, but also in the back of our minds is this whole issue with the license penalties with MTN. So that kind of drives the fear into you. And then you have this whole xenophobia thing, which is also very controversial, if you like. Xenophobia, or reality, no matter what it is, of how South Africans perceive Nigerians living here. The things they get up to and all of these things. I'm not going to mention all of them. So these are things I feel that once image is dealt with, trade becomes easier. Is that something that you kind of feel Nigeria can do better at? Is it something that's a big obstacle, or is it non-existent in the mind of Nigerians and Nigerian businesses?
I mean, I think, well, two things. One, I think our political structure needs a lot more work. We all know that. Yeah. Politics in Africa, in not just Nigeria, can be a dirty business. And it's not always from administration to administration. There's not much continuity. I think more the business people or the SMEs, or we tend to drive and try and influence policy to be able to function properly. But then also with what you say about trust and Nigerians, and we're 200 million people. You would always have the bad eggs or the bad apples, and people hear more about these guys than they hear about those who are doing good, or those who are successful, or those. So we need to also do a lot more work in promoting the good that is being done, and to change the story and to flip the script and to get people, like you say, to have more trust and faith in each other. Yes.
I do think that one thing that we're taking lightly is the fact that, like you and me, peers can have a conversation, and that we have a view that potentially SMEs may struggle to trade cross-border. But I do believe that holds some level of solution. That if we fearlessly trust, and then we can explore opportunities in other countries and neighboring countries, that will kind of increase our bottom line, if you like. But certainly there's a lot of mental hurdles that have to be cleared. And I'm not sitting in another country, nor was I born in another country. I'm speaking from a perspective of living here. And so I'm opening myself up to you and telling you, you may have a different view of a South African or South African business, and these stereotypes one has to fight if you want to open up trade cross-border, right? I think that's important. Let's talk about COVID. I look at your numbers, and they're very interesting. When COVID started in South Africa, I had a number of people indirectly that I knew that had moved on and passed on. And I looked at the numbers and I said, this can't be true. How can only 12,000 people have moved on and 40 million people live here, or 60 million? And I know so many of them. So now I look at Nigeria's numbers and I say, is it 126,000 people infected? Only 1,500 people passed on. Do you have a formula there that we should know about, that the rest of the world should worry about getting from you?
Well, I think, the numbers are not something I can speak about, given that I don't have the data to hand. It does seem a little low, but I think also it just depends on what we're counting. If we're counting the number of people who've actually got COVID, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that there are a lot more people who actually have COVID or have had COVID. Now, if we're counting the deaths, we also need to then start looking at, okay, not to be morbid about the conversation, but at the morgues, if our morgues are not overrun, then maybe there are not that many people who are actually dying as one might think they are. But I think, Nigerians have been used to taking all sorts of alternative medicines in the past. The past. The majority of the population, still deals with sort of local medicinal herbal treatments. There's something we call agbo here, which is like, it's really strong stuff. And, most people have grown up drinking agbo, and people say, oh, you know what, that is strong enough to keep one's immune system high. So, I mean, with COVID, I think it's about the immune system. I'm no doctor, but I think also just keeping your immune system strong enough. It's tough to talk about the scientific nature of these things, but we just all have to try and stay as healthy as possible, exercise, lots of, multivitamins, and but so far the predictions that were made, I think also by Melinda Gates, of there'll be dead bodies on the streets in Nigeria. We haven't seen that. So I can't speak to the exact numbers, but I don't think we are at the point that people thought we would be.
Sure.
Hopefully the vaccine comes quick enough before we actually do start to get in that direction.
Yes. No, well, firstly, I think, Nigeria needs to be congratulated, and whether it's culturally that you eat the right foods or you have systems in place to keep the numbers low. I mean, we can all learn from it. We eat 1 million, and we hear every day of people passing, so it's not that we're not in a good position. I think hopefully the vaccine will come.
Yeah.
A lot of people in South Africa now really and literally work from home. If
Yeah.
I go to a mall right now, it's so busy, you'll think it's a public holiday. People are really working from home. So life is changing. And so our businesses need to change. How has COVID affected your business? And if COVID is going to last for another year until the vaccines make a turnaround, how do you project that you will grow during these times? Because you can't wish it away.
I think the important thing is to think on one's feet and to always move quickly to various outside changes. One of the things like we did during this period was, like I said, we went mainly online. We really pushed our online advertising, as well as being able to deliver to people in their homes. I mean, all you have to do is look at Amazon and how they have grown, and it was all about deliveries because people couldn't get out to the shops. So I think focusing more on technology and digital, in terms of whether it's payments, whether it is distribution, logistics, or rather sort of being able to deliver to people, and also communicate as well. So using technology to communicate with one's team. Most of my team now, we work from home. I'm working from my home from my home office as well. I go in, once in a while when I really need to. So just creating that structure and accepting the realities of life, and also, being nimble enough to make the necessary changes. One of the things we did was we brought all our staff in-house. So we started housing all our operations and sales team, because we found we thought, okay, they will be safer if they're sort of housed together. And we started feeding everybody, breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week. And we still house them till today. We started this last year, March. Wow. And we still house them till today. So a lot of our office spaces have actually been turned into dormitories. Hence, the management staff all have to work from home anyway. Yeah. So making these sorts of business decisions that you just have to. Otherwise, you struggle, or you shut down, or you get overwhelmed. You have to realize what the situation is and just take the necessary steps to survive.
Sure. So in closing, I have two more things that I wanted to talk. Thank you very much for sharing that. I think a lot of people can learn from what you're saying. From an investment perspective, if I'm outside Nigeria, I need to kind of understand what my market is like. And I look at, you have an 8% unemployment rate, and you have a 2,200, give or take, per capita income per person. How does that relate? Does it mean that you have such a low unemployment rate, meaning that a lot more people are unemployed, but they earn very low wages and all of that? Is that something that I should be concerned about, that people wouldn't be able to afford a product that's way that's above the average or lowest rate of or cost? Where are these people employed? Are they employed by themselves? If you say 8% of your, only 8% unemployment. We have a 30% unemployment. And that runs me crazy, because I can literally see it living in Johannesburg. When I go past traffic lights, I see what COVID has done. So many more people are begging. Yet the numbers show me that we have 30% unemployment. I think $10,000 per annum per person income, per capita. How does it look for you? Does it mean that your people are more self-employed? There's more micro businesses? Or are they earning low wages in their employment situations?
I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of unemployment in Nigeria, and maybe those figures do need to be to be addressed or looked at again. But we do have a huge informal sector, where most people live from hand to mouth. So it's that daily income. If you work that day, then you eat. It's that sort of economy. You have just like in South Africa. I've been to Joburg and Cape Town. When you get to the traffic lights, you see people that are there begging, and you see the numbers sort of increasing. But you also see people hawking. You see people selling, different things. People selling, you can buy mobile phones, you can buy tissue paper, you can buy, pictures and art. You can buy all sorts of things in traffic. And then also, the markets, we have a lot of, markets, we have a lot of traders. But I think definitely those numbers do need to be looked at again. Okay. So.
Nonetheless, they are impressive. 8% unemployment, very good. I don't mind if people earn a low wage, as long as they're employed and they can provide. And I don't mind that poverty is around it. I do mind that we as business people make a difference, and that we truly empower people with our products, as opposed to just feeding them. We empower them to feed themselves, and that's what I think we should be doing as people that have the authority to make a difference within our own lives, as much as it kind of impacts on other people's lives. Any parting words? I think we've covered quite a lot. Thank you very much for the conversation so far. Any parting words from you? I do think that we should bring Nuts About Cakes here to Joburg. It looks very delicious, and I'd certainly be one of the first people ordering it online, as I'm not supposed to go out of the house. So we're looking forward to having you here. Don't be afraid. We're not all xenophobic. We're waiting for you to invest.
Absolutely, would love to. And that is sort of our future plans for Nuts About Cakes, and it's about really building an African brand and taking the business pan-African. So I've been to, like I said, I've been to South Africa several times. I love it out there. It's great, and we'll definitely look to coming to share some of the cake love.
Sure. Let me give you a challenge. So I go to, and I don't know if it's ShopRite or Checkers. They invested in Nigeria. I've never been to Nigeria. Nobody invited me. So, so I don't know if Checkers or ShopRite is Nigeria. But what I do know that creamy donuts, what's the name? Creamy.
Krispy Kreme.
They're all over Joburg. If I go to the local ShopRite, if I go to the local service station, and they come all the way from wherever they are. Maybe I don't know which part of America they come from, right? So I put it to you to replace all those donuts with the nuts about cakes bread.
Absolutely.
All right.
We're on our way. We're on our way.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the conversation. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.